Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're finally diving into Screamboat. Honestly, I had no clue what to expect from this movie, but man, it blew me away. It's wild. The whole thing revolves around this creepy killer rat that's straight up picking people off one by one on a ship. In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly what goes down in Screamboat, down at this crusty old dock in New York, the kind of spot where horror flicks love to kick off. Two guys, Neil and Dominic, are patching up a wreck of a ship called the Mortimer. Thing's been floating since the 1920s, so yeah, it's basically soaked in rust, regret, and probably a few unspeakable curses. Naturally, someone gets the bright idea to pry off a metal plate on the side, because hey, who cares about a century of bad juju when scrap metal pays? What could possibly go wrong? As the plate clatters loose, Neil pops open a sealed compartment like he's done it a million times. But this time, boom, something hisses out with pressure, blasting them both back like a couple of rag dolls in a Looney Tunes short. Neil, ever the chill guy, just dusts himself off and goes, "We're good." Dominic's not buying it. He swears he saw something slither out of that ancient black hole. And before they can even start arguing, some freaky little creature bolts right past Neil and slams into him like it's trying out for the demonic NFL. Neil hits the ground, stunned. Dominic dives in to help his buddy. That's when it shows up. And this thing? It ain't your average alley cat. It has rat-like paws and the general aura of something that's been living off hate and sewage for 100 years. Without a second thought, the thing lunges at Neil and bites off his ear like it's chewing gum. And just like that, Neil goes from fine to missing vital body parts. Dominic, in full panic mode, does what any sensible person would do, tries to escape. She runs, but the horror has already followed her into the engine room. She turns and there it is, waiting, watching, way too close. She spins and bolts again, only to step on Neil's freshly severed ear, slip like it's a horror-themed banana peel, and crash into the same cursed compartment. Irony, you try to run from a nightmare, only to fall into it. Everything goes black. Then she wakes up, woozy, confused, and just in time to see a mutant rat creature hurling itself at her face. Cut to a totally different scene. Now we're following a girl named Selena, sprinting toward the terminal like she's late for a flight or being chased by her past. At the docks, she bumps into a ship worker named Pete. Pete takes one look at her and asks the obvious, "Are you running away from someone? You look like you've seen Satan doing cartwheels." Selena, still catching her breath, explains she was working as a waitress at some kid's birthday party. Seemed harmless enough until it wasn't, because once the party ended, the birthday girl Cindy and her gang of giggling psychos decided the fun wasn't over. They started chasing Selena into the streets. Reminder, in horror, it's not always monsters. Sometimes it's children. Selena just wants to get home. Fast. She's at the dock trying to catch the ship, looking like she just sprinted out of a nightmare. Pete, ever the helpful dock worker, tells her to head down to the lower deck. Then, once she's gone, he starts silently strategizing how to stop the demon cheer squad that's probably not far behind, because nothing says employee of the month like tricking a pack of teenage gremlins. Right on cue, Cindy and her gang show up hunting Selena like it's a school-sanctioned manhunt. They ask Pete if he's seen her. Without hesitation, he says she went to the upper deck. Smart move. Send the horror upstairs and pray it doesn't come back. They rush off after her, clueless they're heading in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, passengers and crew finish boarding the ship. Captain Bill grabs the mic and announces the journey will begin soon, because nothing bad ever happens when you leave port in horror movie fog. Then Mike, the operator in the control room, radios in with a warning, thick fog ahead, too dangerous to move. Translation, if you value your life, don't leave the dock. But Captain Bill, he's done. Over it. Too tired to care. He tells Mike they're sailing anyway. This is how every ghost ship movie begins, right before the screaming starts. Mike insists they stay in constant communication for safety. Sure, because radios work so well in cursed fog. The ship pulls away from port. Passengers settle in. One of them is a nurse named Amber. She finds Barry, an old acquaintance, already asleep on her seat. Suddenly, Barry grabs her hand and mumbles something horrifying. This ship is cursed. Amber doesn't flinch, just gives him an energy drink and tells him to relax, because clearly caffeine cures both exhaustion and ancient sea curses. Down on the lower deck, Selena is still hiding. Pete finds her again. She thanks him for saving her earlier. In horror terms, this guy just earned a few more minutes of screen time. They start talking. Pete says he wants to create his own identity and be someone meaningful. Selena says she wrote her dreams in a notebook but hasn't achieved any yet, bonding in a haunted ship's basement, surprisingly wholesome. Meanwhile, somewhere else on the ship, a guy dressed as the Statue of Liberty heads up to rest. This is the guy horror skips right past or eats first. He hears whistling and there's no one around. He returns to his seat, but something's changed. His mask is gone. It's lying in the aisle. If the ship starts moving your stuff around, you are no longer alone. You're next. He walks over to pick up his mask, brushes it off, and quietly decides he should start wearing it all the time. Because if you're going to die on a haunted ship, might as well go out with some style. But before he can even adjust the straps, the same demon lunges from behind and slashes his legs, dropping him like dead weight. He tries to crawl, torch still in hand, but the thing grabs it and smashes it into the back of his skull. Goodbye liberty, hello blunt force trauma. Cut to later. Selena steps into the bathroom, trying to stay unnoticed. She's quiet, moving like someone who doesn't want the world to remember she exists. Moments later, Amber walks in and tells her she found Selena's notebook lying on the ground. Selena takes it from her and says thank you, which is polite, considering her dreams are currently being eaten by a rat monster. As soon as Amber leaves, Selena just stares at the notebook. There's no emotion, just resignation. She tosses it straight into the trash, like she's letting go of something that no longer belongs to her. She walks out silently. No one pays attention, no one notices, no one knows that just a few cabins away, the same monster is currently snacking on a human like it's lunchtime at the underworld buffet. The journey continues. Passengers keep moving, lights flicker. That low hum of dread begins to settle across the ship. Meanwhile, a lone policeman begins his routine patrol. Classic horror side quest. Routine patrol that ends horribly. As he makes his way down the corridor, he hears something and laughs. But it's not just any laugh. It's a Mickey Mouse-like chuckle that sounds like it came from a haunted amusement park. He looks toward the stairwell. There's something climbing up. It's fast, and definitely not human. He heads over to investigate. Bad idea. A hammer comes flying out of the shadows and slams into his leg, knocking him down instantly. Another proud member of the I shouldn't have checked that noise club. His gun flies out of reach. He tries to crawl toward it, hand stretched out only to get smashed again. A second strike lands straight on his hand, crunching bones. He screams in agony and looks up. Mickey Mouse is standing over him, smiling wide, soaked in blood, holding the hammer like it's a favorite toy. Selena hears the scream. She runs toward it without hesitation. She gets there just in time to see it. The mouse. Not the cartoon, the monster. A giant creature in suspenders, holding the policeman by the leg and hurling him into the ship's propeller. 1 second later, the man's head bursts like a balloon. Selena stops in her tracks, paralyzed by what she's just seen. Her eyes lock with Mickey Mouse's, and then something worse happens. He falls in love. Yeah, love at first sight. He walks up slowly like he's approaching a date. In his hand, he's carrying a piece of the officer's body, because nothing says romance like fresh organs and murder. Later, Selena finds Officer Diaz along with Pete and Amber. She tries to explain what she saw. She starts to speak, but the words fall apart. Panic takes over and she bolts. She screams that a giant mouse just killed someone. No one believes her. But it doesn't matter, because the horror has already started, and it's not stopping. No one believes Selena. Of course they don't. A giant killer mouse in suspenders sounds more like a rejected cartoon pitch than a real threat, which in horror logic basically confirms it's real and about to kill again. Still, Officer Diaz doesn't completely dismiss her. He tells Amber to take Selena somewhere safe while he heads off to investigate the missing policeman, because in horror, splitting up is always step one. Meanwhile, Captain Bill is in the control room staring at the thick fog outside. It's gotten worse, way worse. The kind of fog that doesn't just hide things, it swallows them. He tries to contact the control center, but there's no response. Then he turns and notices something strange on the wall. Someone has taped up photographs of all the old captains, dozens of them, arranged like some kind of creepy tribute. Bill didn't put them there. No one on board did. While he's trying to make sense of it, Mickey Mouse creeps up behind him. A steel rope wraps around the captain's neck. He thrashes and gasps, but the rope tightens. Mickey pulls with full force and snaps his neck clean. Now Mickey Mouse takes the captain's chair. Literally. He takes control of the ship and changes its direction without hesitation. Then he calmly presses a button and starts playing a song over the speaker system. because of course the mutant rodent has a playlist for this moment. A while later, Tommy, the ship's second in command, walks into the control room. The first thing he sees is the captain's severed head sitting right in front of him, eyes wide open, mouth half hanging. Tommy freezes, horrified, but after a moment of shock, it dawns on him he's the new captain now. Promotion via corpse, very efficient. Trying to keep it together, Tommy immediately calls Pete, who's now his first assistant. He orders him to send all the crew members to the lower deck so no one sees what happened up here, because step 1 in crisis management is hide the body, obviously. Officer Diaz is pulled into the plan too. He's now responsible for helping contain the situation and finding whatever monster just murdered the captain. Meanwhile, Mickey Mouse is already on the move. He steps onto another deck and spots 2 of Cindy's friends taking selfies and filming videos with their phones. Without hesitation, Mickey hops into a parked forklift nearby. He revs the engine and launches the machine straight at the girls, because nothing ruins an influencer's day like a forklift operated by a homicidal mascot. Before the girls can even think about running, Mr. Mouse grabs an iron fork from the forklift and charges. In seconds, he stabs and kills both girls on the spot without breaking stride. That's 2 influencers down and a PR nightmare coming up. At that very moment, Nurse Amber happens to be walking by. She sees the entire attack with her own eyes. That's all she needs to realize that Selena wasn't crazy after all. It's amazing how fast people believe you once they witness a double murder by a demon mascot. Amber wastes no time and rushes off to warn Selena. Meanwhile, Pete and the rest of the crew begin directing passengers to the lower deck for safety. People begin crowding in. When Amber, Pete, and Selena try to enter with them, they discover the door has been locked from the inside. Panic erupts instantly among the passengers. In the chaos, one of the crew members screams that the captain has been killed. Nothing calms a crowd like randomly yelling the worst possible news. The second that word spreads, all hell breaks loose. People start shouting, pushing, assuming the ship is under attack. Officer Diaz steps in and tries to calm everyone down. He reassures them that no matter what happens, they'll survive together. That's when Mr. Mouse jabs a broomstick straight into Diaz's neck and ends that little motivational speech for good. And there goes the guy trying to hold the movie together. Everyone watches in horror as the monstrous Mickey Mouse appears in full view. Chaos turns to action as the entire crew lunges toward him, trying to bring him down, but Mouse grabs a fire hose, swings it around, and blasts the group back with full pressure. The force of the water floods the entire deck. Cartoon villain meets tactical riot control, weirdly effective. Then, without a second thought, he throws exposed electrical wires into the water. Screams follow as nearly everyone gets shocked into unconsciousness or worse, when pest control becomes population control. In the middle of this total meltdown, Amber, Pete, and Selena flee to the next deck, terrified. There, surprisingly, they find Cindy somehow still alive, asleep on a bench. After what they've just been through, the 3 of them come to a decision. They need to get to the command center, contact someone by radio, and steer this cursed ship back to port. Meanwhile, Mickey Mouse is still wandering the ship, hunting for his next victim. He passes by a counter stocked with beer bottles and reaches for one like he's on break. But before he can open it, his nose twitches. He smells something nearby, something human. That scent belongs to a crew member named Mateo. He somehow managed to survive so far, along with his mother, but things take a turn when his mother gets electrocuted and collapses unconscious. Mickey is seconds away from grabbing Mateo when another passenger named Moses appears and drags Mateo to safety. The rare case of biblical timing actually working. Elsewhere on the ship, a girl named Jamie, who didn't go down to the lower deck like she was told, spots a policeman asleep on a bench. She wakes him up and says something's wrong with the lighting system. She asks him to come with her and check it out. When they arrive in the staff room, the officer draws his gun, but there's no threat. The lights are working fine. No monsters in sight. That's when the truth comes out. Jamie already knew the policeman. She lured him here on purpose. There was no electrical problem. She just wanted the 2 of them to be alone. Because what better time for a hookup than mid-mass murder by cartoon vermin? That's why Jamie brought the policeman there in the first place. A quiet moment alone in a locked room sounded like a good idea at the time. Unfortunately for them, Mr. Mouse had already made himself comfortable hiding silently in a cupboard like a cartoon slasher waiting for his cue. The second they let their guard down, down, Mickey Mouse bursts out and drives a blade deep into the policeman right where it hurts the most. Blood sprays across the walls like a paint bomb gone wrong. Jamie freezes in horror. Before she can react, Mickey grabs her and slashes her throat without hesitation. Romantic moment officially canceled. Meanwhile, Selena and her group finally reach the captain's cabin, desperate to make contact with the outside world. But in the chaos, Cindy gets separated from them. Selena notices she's missing and immediately turns back to search for her. On her way, she runs into Mateo and Moses. Mateo explains that he only survived the electric shock earlier because he was wearing construction boots. Proof that OSHA regulations occasionally save lives even in horror films, Pete calls all of them to the captain's cabin, where Tommy is now frantically trying to fix the radio so he can contact the command center and call for help. A few moments later, Tommy hears a noise coming from the living room. He goes to check and finds Mr. Mouse standing silently in the shadows, holding a massive old television set in his arms. Tommy barely has time to process what's happening. Before he can react, Mickey Mouse throws the television straight at him, crushing Tommy's skull with a brutal thud. That's one way to cancel cable. Elsewhere, Cindy is stumbling through the empty corridors of the ship. The birthday drinks have worn off, and it hits her that she's totally alone. Everyone else is gone. She tries to use her phone to contact the group, but there's no signal. Still, she keeps walking, unaware that Mickey Mouse is now following her step by step, always just out of sight. Eventually, Cindy steps outside to the edge of the ship, where her phone finally catches a weak signal. A photo comes through from one of her friends. She looks at it. In the background of the photo, she sees something that turns her stomach Mickey Mouse standing behind her, staring straight into the lens. She panics. She bolts back inside, trying to find anyone. While running, she trips over something on the ground. It's a mask from the Statue of Liberty mask from earlier. As she picks it up, the severed head of the boy who wore it rolls out. She stumbles back in horror, only to turn around and find the dead body of another one of her friends slumped against the wall. She's trembling now, completely frozen in fear. Then Mickey Mouse appears, calmly walking toward her with a harpoon in his hand. He raises it, preparing to strike. But Cindy moves fast. She ducks, bolts down the corridor, and manages to escape at the last second. She slams a heavy steel door behind her and locks it just in time. On the other side, Mickey Mouse stops, waiting. From behind the door, Cindy starts mocking him for how slow he is, because taunting a giant killer mouse with a harpoon is definitely going to help. But the problem is, Cindy doesn't keep running. Instead, she stops right near the door and begins breathing heavily, completely drained. She thinks she's safe. She thinks she's bought a moment of peace. Then she looks up. Written in blood on the wall above her, smeared across the rooftop in long dripping strokes, is a message. Screaming is your heartfelt desire, and because nothing calms your nerves like a demonic fortune cookie written in blood. The atmosphere shifts instantly. Any illusion of safety disappears. The fear returns in full force. Meanwhile, back in the captain's cabin, there's more bad news. The radio is completely broken. Whatever chance they had to call for help from the command center is now gone. No one knows what to do. There's no signal, no escape, no backup. Then, out of nowhere, a hand grabs Selena's leg from beneath a bench. Everyone gasps. For a moment, it looks like another attack is about to begin, but it's not Mr. Mouse. It's Barry, the same old man who had quietly ignored the order to go below deck earlier. Apparently, he's been hiding in the captain's cabin this whole time like a survivor in a horror bunker. Barry pulls himself up, coughing, and says one sentence that changes the entire tone in the room. "I know what that thing is." He reveals the truth. The killer isn't just some twisted creature. His name is Steamboard Willie. Because of course the most cursed thing on this ship has a name that sounds like a haunted cartoon. Barry begins telling the story no one else knew. Back in the 1950s, while working on a ship, he heard rumors. There was a mysterious rat-like creature created by a sea captain named Walter, or as some people called him, Walt. Walt met this strange creature during a voyage. It looked like a cartoon mascot, cheerful and odd. They called him Willie, and for a time, Willie entertained kids and passengers alike. He was harmless, joyful, a living cartoon brought to life. But then something changed. Eventually, Willie was locked away and shipped off, boarded onto an old ferry called the Mortimer. No one really knows why, but Walt, the original captain, didn't abandon him. He stayed with him, treated Willie like a friend. They traveled together, side by side, across endless oceans, until one day, a brutal storm hit the ship. Walt died during the wreck. Willie survived alone, abandoned, left to rot in the dark lower decks of the Mortimer for decades, and now he's free and he wants revenge. He'll kill anyone and everyone who crosses his path. Because nothing creates a true monster like grief, isolation, and 70 years of being ignored by humanity. Eventually, Barry explains that although this isn't the exact same ship from the 1950s, some of the old parts from that cursed vessel were reused here to cut costs. That included more than just pipes and bolts. It included Willie. He came aboard with the salvage. Because if horror movies have taught us anything, it's that reusing haunted ship parts is practically inviting your own funeral. Now that Pete and the rest of the group know the truth, they decide to head to the engine room and retrieve a flare gun so they can signal for help. It's the last chance they've got. They split into two teams. Amber and Selena take one path, while Pete, Moses, and Mateo go the other way. While navigating the corridors, they come across Dominic miraculously still alive after Willie's earlier rampage. She looks shaken but warns them that the ship's plumbing is damaged, and if it isn't fixed soon, the whole system could collapse. Pete and Moses decide to help her. It seems urgent. Mateo is told to stay behind in the corridor because going in could be dangerous. Inside, Pete finds a burst pipe and gets to work fixing it. Everything seems normal until Dominic suddenly grabs a wrench and smashes Moses across the head. He drops like a stone. Dominic slowly puts on a helmet, one that eerily resembles Mickey Mouse ears. And then she starts talking. She's not a survivor. She's a follower. She claims she's acting on Willie's orders. Willie, or Mickey as she refers to him, wants complete control of the ship because he's searching for someone special, someone lost at sea long ago, because nothing says cult energy like cosplay and attempted murder in a boiler room. Meanwhile, up on the upper deck, Willie strolls calmly through a hallway right above Amber and Selena. The two are trying to escape quietly, every step deliberate, hoping not to make a sound, but then it happens. Amber steps on a jagged nail jutting out of the floor. Pain flashes across her face. She's about to scream, but Selena moves fast, clamping a hand over her mouth before she can make a sound. Amber, teeth clenched, nods that she's okay. She then points toward a box that's supposed to contain the flare gun. Selena sprints toward it, but just as she reaches the box, she hears a sound, a soft, sinister hiss. Standing right next to her is Mickey Mouse. In one hand, he holds a rusty weapon. In the other, he's carrying a bouquet. Not of flowers, of human ears. If there was ever a Valentine's gift straight from hell, this is it. Selena screams. The shock is instant, but Amber uses the distraction and charges at Mickey, stabbing him with a screwdriver. Mickey lets out a deafening screech and retaliates, slashing at Amber in rage. Before he can finish her, Selena grabs an iron rod and slams it into Mickey's back, sending him stumbling across the room. The girls run. Bloody, panicked, and barely holding it together, they escape. But once they open the flare box, they realize it's empty. Dominic already took the flare gun, making sure no one could interrupt Willie's twisted plans. Turns out the real villain wasn't just the mouse, it was the loyal fan club member with a wrench. While Dominique is still explaining her twisted loyalty, she grips a wrench and slowly raises it, ready to strike Pete from behind. But before she can swing, Mr. Mouse enters the room. The moment she sees him, Dominique drops everything and moves toward him like a cultist greeting her god. But Mickey Mouse is not impressed. With zero hesitation, he pulls the screwdriver out of his own eye and sinks his teeth into Dominique's neck. Nothing says loyalty isn't mutual like being executed by your leader mid-hug. Dominique collapses, twitching, while Pete takes the opportunity to grab the flare gun and bolts out of the engine room, but Moses stays behind. He's had enough. He tells Pete and Mateo to run. He's going to finish the job, for good. As Pete and Mateo escape, Moses turns, aims the flare gun at the fuel tank, and fires. The explosion tears through the engine room. The blast is massive. Metal rips, pipes burst, and flames roll through the decks. Billy, somewhere nearby, is caught in the shockwave and seriously injured, but Pete and Mateo make it out in time, coughing, bloodied but alive. Meanwhile, Selena and Amber are on the rooftop deck right above the blast zone. They try desperately to help Pete and Mateo, but water floods the lower levels fast. The debris is everywhere. There's no clear way through. Working together, Selena and Amber manage to open up a narrow passage. It's just big enough for Mateo to squeeze through. Pete helps Mateo up and pushes him towards safety, but that's when Willie appears again. He lunges, biting deep into Pete's leg. Despite the pain, Pete doesn't stop. He throws Mateo upward, shoving him through the escape hole just before he's pulled down. Realizing there's no way out for himself, Pete turns back to face Willie, blood pouring from his leg. He tells Selena to run, to save herself. He says someone has to stay behind and stop this thing once and for all. He says it like a captain. Selena pleads with him, but it's no use. He's already made up his mind. Willie approaches and the two face off. deep underwater, surrounded by fire and ruin. Selena and Amber have no choice but to flee, but even after Pete's sacrifice, Amber knows it's not over. Willie isn't dead, not yet. They regroup, trying to figure out their next move. That's when Mateo pulls out a photograph Barry had shown him earlier. In the image, you can see Captain Walt and Willie on the old ship, but there's something else. A third figure, another rat. According to Barry's notes, this second mouse fell overboard during a violent storm, and that's when it hits Selena. Willie isn't just killing for fun, he's looking for something, or someone, another lost creature, his missing counterpart, because even demonic rodent monsters need closure. Selena suddenly has a plan. They're going to use this truth, the one thing Willie still wants to trap him. Selena quickly runs through the ship, searching for Cindy's suitcase. When she finally finds it, she pulls out a white polka dot dress, one that looks uncannily like Minnie Mouse's outfit. Selena knows instantly this is what she needs. It's perfect for the plan she's about to risk her life on. Without hesitation, she puts it on, determined to use it to lure Willie. Meanwhile, Amber and Mateo manage to get to the outer deck and spot another ship passing nearby. Amber starts waving frantically, screaming for help. The distant captain notices and waves back, steering his vessel toward them for a rescue. But before salvation can arrive, Amber hears a sound, that chilling, hissing breath she's come to dread. She turns around slowly, terrified, and there stands Willie. In his hand, he holds a rusted iron rod. Without wasting a moment, he charges toward her. Amber picks up a rod to defend herself, but slips and crashes to the floor. Willie looms over her, ready to deliver the final blow. Then, a whistle. He freezes. Someone is calling his name. Willie turns and there stands Selena, dressed in the polka dot dress and wearing a merry-go-round hat, mimicking the look of his long-lost companion. Her voice is calm, almost sweet. It works. Willie lowers his weapon, mesmerized, slowly walking toward her. Selena waits until he's close enough, then swings a hammer at his head, but he's fast. Too fast. He dodges and Selena sprints past him to help Amber. Meanwhile, Mateo is left behind. Willie grabs Mateo by the collar and with disturbing ease hurls him off the ship. Selena sees him fall and runs to the edge, trying to stop it, but she slips herself and ends up hanging from the railing. Willie stands over her with the iron rod raised. He's ready to drop it, ready to end it. But then, something in Selena's eyes stops him, something familiar. She looks just like the friend he lost in the storm all those years ago. Instead of letting her fall, Willie drops the rod and pulls her back up, gently. For a moment, there's silence. He hands her a small bunch of real flowers, as if offering a peace gesture, maybe even love. Because in his twisted mind, this isn't carnage, it's courtship. Just then, Amber regains consciousness and shouts his name. Willie turns toward her, distracted. That's when Selena acts. She drives a pair of scissors straight into his head. He stumbles backward, blood pouring, but even as he falls, he doesn't scream. He simply looks at Selena, says goodbye, and drops into the sea. It's over. Selena runs to the edge and finds Mateo still alive, floating and clinging to a trash bin. Hours pass. A rescue ship finally arrives, and with it, Mateo's father. He thanks Selena and Amber for saving his son's life. Before leaving, Mateo hands Selena her diary. He found it during the chaos. Selena, after everything, makes a decision. She won't run anymore. She'll stay in New York and chase the dream she almost threw away. But what she doesn't know is that Willie's body washed ashore far away among a pile of garbage, and he's still alive. Worse, his long-lost friend has found him, because every monster needs a sequel. Meanwhile, back in the command center, Mike hears a distress signal over the radio. It's from Pete. He's alive. Somehow he survived his fight with Willie and is now trapped aboard the wrecked ship, asking for help. Mike gears up and prepares for a rescue mission. But whether he'll reach him in time, that remains a mystery. And just like that, the credits roll with a promise that the nightmare isn't over. And that's the nightmare cruise you didn't know you needed. If mutant mice and floating death traps are your thing, hit like, subscribe, and scream responsibly in the comments. See you in the next Ending Explained.